Curly Hair Q&A. This is your question of the day. I'm your host, Ken Nickels, and I'm here with Melanie Nickels. She is the founder of the Raw Hair Organic Salon in beautiful Naples, Florida. It's one of the top curly hair salons in the country, and she is one of the top curl experts anywhere in the world. She is also the founder of the Raw Curls brand of natural and organic curly hair products. Melanie, online there has been a lot of discussion lately about wet cutting versus dry cutting, and which is better and which should be used when. Can you give us any insight on your thoughts on which is better for curls, wet cutting or dry cutting?
Well, I absolutely can. And I throw a wrench into the whole system because I believe both is best. So there you have it.
Explain.
Yeah. So there's typically been two schools of thought with cutting curly hair, and Ouidad started with the wet cutting, and they have their system, which is great. And then Deva came along with Lorraine Massey, and she created the dry cutting method, which is
Now, did Lorraine come up with that system, or was it actually Dennis?
Dennis De Silva.
Yeah.
Good question. The two of them together. We'll just say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so their school of thought was dry cutting, curl by curl. All of it makes sense. And so to me, just believing in one or the other does not work best. I believe in being all encompassing and using what's necessary in order to achieve the best curls. And it only makes sense because there's certain things that you can achieve dry cutting, and then there's certain things that you need to achieve by wet cutting. And so the combination of the two is really great, depending, again, on what the ultimate results are that are desired. So, like with any cutting and coloring and anything in the hair world, there's not just one way of doing it.
So there's more than one school of thought.
Yeah.
And neither one is wrong.
Neither one is wrong. Absolutely not. But there's, ways that you can improve on, just doing one or the other, because there's times, for instance, so I have found through experience, and this is why I developed the cutting system the way that I did, and I just want to achieve what's best for each individual's curls. And when I was just dry cutting, well, newsflash, believe it or not, there are people that do straighten their curls once in a while. They want to blow them out. They want to smooth them out. So when you're cutting them curl by curl and just dry only, when they come into the salon and they've blown their hair out, or they're out and about and they've blown their hair out, that could be on our Halloween hair horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want my name on that. It doesn't look good. And then curls can be inconsistent, like we talk about constantly. Curls don't always fall into the same place. So you cut it dry in one way, and then the next day or the next time you style your hair, it doesn't fall into the same place. So that's an issue with cutting it dry only.
Sure.
So these were just things that I said to myself, there's got to be a way to do it better. And then there's, of course, the things that I talk about that are problematic in the hair when you see shelfies, shelfiness or choppiness in the hair, or what I call in term the jellyfish, where there's those dangles hanging down. Those are all inconsistencies that you find with just dry cutting. You can make it look better, but it wasn't completely always getting rid of these issues in the hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just moving them from one spot to another. And I'm not saying that this is for and this is why I believe in what I do, because you have to be able to work with every kind of curl pattern out there. And so now that we have so many mixes of different textures, we're creating all different kinds of curls and problems. So,
sure.
Just using one technique on every single head doesn't always work.
So that's kind of a problem, is that if you're, say, for example, if you're a stylist that has only been trained in, let's just say only been trained in dry cutting, you might
You're
have
limited.
you have a client that sits in your chair that really could benefit from wet cutting. You have to try to cookie cutter fit that client into the technique that which
Exactly.
is dry, which doesn't benefit the client.
Exactly. So, knowing when to use what technique and why is going to give you your best curly hair, of course, because there's things that need to be done wet. There's things that need to be done dry.
And things that need to be done curl by curl.
And things that need to be done curl by curl. So if you only know one system, then you're limited in how much you can, help
Benefit a client.
Yeah, benefit a client. So
Sure.
yeah, it just really makes sense. And, when I explain it to people, they totally get it. And, they understand that. And like I say, sometimes I will cut somebody completely dry, but there's most times that people can really benefit from both, some dry and some
From wet cutting and dry cutting. Huh. Interesting insight.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a question that you would like Melanie or I to answer in a future episode, feel free to leave it in the comment section below wherever you're consuming this content, and we'll see you again tomorrow.